Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, and first I want to say that I apologize for the lack of videos. Last 2 weekends I've had no time to make videos, and when I do have time, I am just so fucking tired that I just keep falling asleep. Which is why I've been on this movie for 2 weekends. I fall asleep, wake up, it's back on the main menu, hit play again, fall asleep. Like, I must have had to watch this about 9 times. And it's not because it's boring. At all. And it's a movie I've wanted to see for a long time from a director I've wanted to get more films of for quite some time. And that is Mario Bava's Black Sunday. Known overseas as The Mask of Satan. Of course, it is part of this Volume 1 Bava collection. I have Volume 2 coming, so when that comes in, I'll go over each set, what's and what. This has 5 films, Volume 2 has 8. And if you remember my Italian horror giallo exploitation collection video, even though I have over like 30 films, only 2 of them were Bava, Bay of Blood, Blood and Black Lace. Both great films. Since then, I have got Black Sabbath, and which is also included in this, and The Whip in the Body. So I am working on getting more Bava films because only having 2 is a crime. Now, Black Sunday was it's a 1960 film, and it was his first solo directorial debut. By that I mean, prior to that, he had some directorial credit, but either under someone, with someone, or like he had come in to finish a film. He never had full solo directorial credit before. And this is what was known in the 60s as the gothic horror, which, when I think of Italian horror directors, the big 3 are Bava, Fulci, and Argento. And even though they've all done these to some extent or another, I think Argento is the giallo guy, Fulci is the gore guy, and even though Bava helped revolutionize and start the giallo genre with Blood and Black Lace and The Girl Who Knew Too Much, or helps spawn what would become the slasher genre with A Bay of Blood, which is essentially a giallo. It's a giallo. I think Bava's best films are his gothic films, like the Black Sunday, Black Sabbath, and yeah, I did not fall asleep because this movie's boring. It's not boring at all. Just I've just been so tired lately that by the time I actually get around to watching stuff, I fall asleep. Now, it stars a Barbara Steele, who, of course, would go on to be in a few Hammer films. Can't remember on top of my head what ones. I reviewed the Hammer films that she's been in. John Richardson, Ivo... I'm going to butcher some of these names. Ivo Garanni, Andrea Checci, Arturo Dominici, directed by Mario Bava. Now, it is black and white, which really helps the aesthetic. And sort of like other black and white films that came out in the 60s, early 60s, maybe not to the extent of other ones like Dementia 13 or Carnival of Souls. This is one that you can see the influence on future directors like David Lynch or like George Romero. And there are some really well done creepy shots in this film. A lot of it is, one, the very well done gothic aesthetic. 2, the visual performance of Barbara Steele. the black and white film itself. And I really enjoyed this. I would go as far as to say, even though I loved Bay of Blood, and I do love what Bava did do for the giallo genre. Of course, Argento would come in later and really redefine giallo. Bird crystal plumage, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, Deep Red. I thought Cat of Nine Tails was boring, but Deep Red is like the essential giallo. These gothic films of his, Bava's, I think are just so pleasing. Black Sabbath is another one that just, I've been so fucking tired that I can't stay awake. It's an anthology. I will get to a video of that. That the first story, I know the cuts are different. So the first story, the copy I have, A Drop of Water, that's a perfect example of Bava's filmmaking. So Black Sunday, it starts off, I don't really know if it says an exact year. It might. I do know the timeline is different, the 200-year difference. But it's loosely based on the short story Vi or Va by Nikolai Gogol. Probably mispronounced that name. I'm sorry if I did. I'm not familiar with the short story, so I don't know what the differences are. And this poster will be in the thumbnail, the original Italian poster, but I really like the original American poster as well, which I like that this set does include those, the original Italian covers and the original American covers. The only thing, well, no, I'll save that for when Volume 2 comes in. And I found these for fairly cheap. No, they're not bootlegs, but I'm very excited for Volume 2 to come. I've been wanting these for a while. So, it opens up 200 years in the past. Okay, so that's actually what I was thinking. 1630, and Moldavia, which I'm guessing is in Italy. I'm actually going to look that up. Romania. Okay. 1630, there's this woman, Asavaja, who's a witch, and her paramour, I guess her equally evil assistant, but is more about her bidding, Javitich. I know they say their names multiple times in the film. With foreign names, I suck at remembering the pronunciation, so when I'm reading it, I totally fuck it up. So forgive me for that. They're sentenced to death by her own brother for witchcraft. But the last thing she does, and of course she's played by Barbara Steele, is she puts a curse on her brother's descendants, therefore her own descendants, for years to come. Whenever she can again arise. And then there's a storm that comes that prevents the fire in the funeral pyre to, burn her to death. So, and they put the mask of Satan on her and her paramour, which is like this big satanic looking mask with nails that they hammer on. And so then we jump 200 years later, where we see, I want to say there's this doctor, these two doctors, this older one and his assistant, Kruvahan. I don't remember the pronunciation. I'm sorry. Again. And Gorbek. They're trying to get to a medical conference, you know, somewhere, and they're going through this area. And then one of their, a wheel falls off in their carriage. Of course, the coach driver knows the area. He knows this place is cursed and legend of a witch. And while he's fixing it, the two go into this crypt, and they happen to discover Barbara Steele's tomb, which the older one knows who she is. He knows the legend. He knows that, okay, what the mask represents. And, I like how her crypt, there's like a window in it so we can like see her face. I don't know if this is actual custom for the time, but his assistant asks why, and he says, well, they feared she would come back, so by putting a window over her face with the cross there, it would keep her at bay. His assistant goes out to help the driver, and there's this big bat flying around. So the doctor starts shooting it, and he shoots the crucifix, which falls, breaks the glass, and that's when he decides to take the mask. And when he takes it, the prosthetics are very well done in this. And because obviously it's a fake head, but it looks just like Barbara Steele. Little scorpions coming out of the eyes, the holes from the mask. So he takes it, but he cuts himself on the glass and some blood drops on her, and then she hellraisers herself back to life. And a pretty gruesome, gross fashion. I mean, again, this came out in 1960, the same year as Psycho. Now, of course, the legend of Psycho is that was the first movie to show a toilet flushing. That's how conservative it was back then. But also, that was a movie where people swear they see a knife penetrating flesh in the shower scene, and it scarred everyone up, really freaked everyone out. This movie, of course, is Italian. Either things were different over there, or they're just more ballsy over there. But we see this, imagine like Barbara Steele with holes and a little bit of decay. It's like this goopy blood with like maggots deep in her eye sockets, like starting to fill up. And then we get introduced to our other characters, and then we see that again, and it's like these pale eyes start to come out and formulate in the sockets. Which one is completely white, the other one has like a very pale pupil or iris. And then I like this transition, because your eye is drawn to that really pale iris, so that one eyeball. So the next scene is a guy playing like a trumpet or a trombone or something, but the camera's right on the horn of the instrument. Which is a nice little transition. And just seeing those eyes just come up into the socket and like get into place. It's all like moist and shiny and pretty gruesome, especially for the time. I thought it was well done. Of course, the witch spends most of the film in her crypt. She's able to summon her paramour just by saying, rise, rise. Get the great scene of him rising out of the ground. Of course, he has a mask, which he takes off. And they pretty much just go after the descendants. I mean, Barbara Steele, there's, I don't remember what it was, like the great whatever. Well, Barbara Steele plays this woman, Kadia. Again, I suck. and she lives there with her father and brother Constantine, spelt Constantine, but I because every time I heard it I was like, Constantine, just say Constantine. I'm trying to see if it says what exactly the like the great whatevers they are, because I don't remember. Of course, the the younger doctor assistant becomes smitten with her. Trying to see if it says. I'm guessing it doesn't say. What exactly? Well, so she needs the younger generation Barbara Steele to be able to revive herself. She's pretty much stuck in this crypt. So she has her paramour sort of doing her bidding, goes after her father. Of course, he has a crucifix, but which wards him off. But you know, he does get messed up. Like, yeah, he gets paralyzed with fear. I thought he was having a heart attack when I first saw it. The first 23 times I had to watch it. Actually, and this is what I mean by really well done creepy scenes, is that the older doctor, he goes back down to the crypt, and he's sort of lured back to her tomb, and he looks down at her and he sees her body. But with the way the camera is and the lighting and just like Barbara Steele's unique facial structure, like, you can tell her eyes are closed in their shadow. He hears a noise and he turns around, but when he looks back down and the camera looks down, she's like, her eyes are like wide open staring at him. And there's kind of like a music, like, the way the lighting is, it looked great, very creepy. I really love how that was shot. The gothic set design, the lighting and the cinematography was fantastic in this film. Really loved it. You know, it really made me think of like the gothic, you know, you go back to like the Universal or the RKO or Columbia films of the 30s, but you know, obviously more recent, maybe a little bit, well, I wouldn't even say better cinematography, but you know, I just the way the lighting, the set design, and cinematography was really helped sell the whole aesthetic. I loved it. And of course, you know, the still going after the descendants, and you have the end where, you know, you have both Barbara Steele characters together, and which the one doctor who pretty much becomes possessed, you know, under her will, there's a part where he falls in the fireplace and we see his head burning. And I mean, you can tell it's a dummy, but it's convincing enough because you see like the latex melting and it's moving enough to kind of get the idea that there's like writhing. For 1960, that must have had people like vomiting. I thought that was well done. They do find the body of, I believe it's the servant, buried in the paramour's coffin. That looks like an obvious dummy, but I forgive it because it fits so well with everything else. The burning dummy in the fireplace I thought was very well done. Well, first when he lands in it, it's like a superimposed shot, but then like the up close of like the burning dummy or whatever it was, I thought was very well done. Or if it was still superimposed, but they found a way to have the actor with the makeup melting. Either way, I loved how it looked. And, you know, eventually the witch, Barbara Steele, is able to get up and move around. I like how she touches her arm, and they're both doing their, like, writhing thing, and just, like, the way it's shot, it's like their skin gets really dark, and there's, like, these lines on their face, and it goes away to, like, show there's the transportation of soul and body. And so then when, you know, I believe it was the younger guy, yeah, the younger doctor who was going to save her, he believes the one that's standing there talking to him is the young, good Barbara Steele. So he goes to kill the one in the crypt, but he notices she's wearing the crucifix. That's the only thing keeping the witch Barbara Steele from actually getting, I guess, completing the transformation or whatever. But he notices that, and he knows what's up. And it pretty much ends with, okay, she's back up on, you know, up on the big thing they put witches on. It's like she's tied up here, and the fire's here. And I loved the ending shot because, you know, the music picks up. There's the Hollywood kiss, and you think it's going to say the end, but then it shows the funeral pyre with the Barbara Steele witch on it, and just falls into the flames. I would have to say, for a first time, even though he's had some cinematography and partial directorial credit prior to this, for his first solo film, very well done. Bravo, Bava. I mean, I loved the cinematography. I loved the sort of neo-gothic, it takes place in the 1830s, or even straight up gothic set design, the aesthetic, the black and white really helped. The use of lighting and shadow, the dual performance of Barbara Steele, where, okay, she's this really sweet, normal character, the younger descendant, and then she has to do most of this evil witch acting laying in a crypt, and she has to, like, use her eyes and her facial expressions, and I thought she did very well. The lighting really helped sell a lot of that. Again, especially when the older doctor goes down there, and it's like she's fine. He looks away when the camera comes back. Very well done, creepy, eerie shots. Also, at one point, we see a carriage out of nowhere, just going slow motion down like this foggy, like, back road trail. I thought it looked beautiful. You know, the black and white, the fog, the sort of dead, Sleepy Hollow kind of trees. I really liked Black Sunday. So far, I would say this is my favorite Bava film. Even just on the cinematography and set design alone. But I really enjoyed Black Sunday. I'm glad I finally got to make a video of this. And I know I've got about 40 marathons planned. I still got to finish the Invisible Man series, Hitchcock, Hammer films. But I really am going to dive into these Bava films because it's something I've wanted to get into for so long. And I've already got a whole playlist of Italian films, and, you know, I mean, even in this set, without going super into it, Black Sunday, Black Sabbath, which I also had, Girl Who Knew Too Much, Knives of the Avenger, and Kill Baby Kill. And hopefully Volume 2 will be in soon, but yeah. Really enjoyed Black Sunday. You know, probably my favorite performance by Barbara Steele so far. But yeah, excellent movie. Really enjoyed it. Hell of a directorial debut by Mario Bava. Thank you for watching.